Hi. This is my first attempt at doing some kind of reading vlog thing. I want to give it a try. Because having to take notes and do makeup and do a structured sit down filming has kind of lost its luster a little bit. So I also got a new phone, which means it frees up space on my old phone for a lot of filming, and then this phone has a lot more memory, so I can film more than 30 minutes before I have to dump footage, which is game-changing. Anyway, so for this little reading vlog, I'm currently participating in some reading sprints with Jurassic Reads. They tend to start around 3 p.m. my time, which is a perfect time for me because it gives me an hour or two of reading before my partner gets home and we cook dinner. In the first sprint I read 2 chapters of Braiding Sweetgrass, which I've really, really been enjoying it. It's been very comforting. It's one of the few books that I have been intentionally not trying to read quickly. I've only been reading a chapter or two every night. It's a part memoir with a lot of botany and also indigenous scientific knowledge. And it has been connecting to a lot of other things that I've been reading or watching in a way that's kind of eerie but amazing. Anyway, I want to finish it this month, so I was a chapter or two behind if I was going to only read 1 or 2 chapters every night. So I got a little caught up in that. And now I am going to start this honker, City of Brass. This is one of the books I got for Christmas, and I finally want to get around to reading it, and then whenever I finish it, I'm gonna lend it to my dad because he thought it sounded really interesting. So, anyway, I've just heard people gushing about the series, and it sounds interesting, and yep, I'm finally in the mood to read it, and I am currently between library books, so that's perfect. Okay, so, anyway, just let me get into reading that, and we'll see how many pages I read. I love me a good map in a fantasy book. I mean, I love me a map in any book, because I'm such a visual learner, but yeah. Okay, so the reading sprints, at least from that host, are done for now. I started City of Brass and I got 40 pages in, 2.5 chapters in. I'm enjoying it. In the sprints, I commented that I appreciate having a physical copy because I know that I'm going to be wanting to refer to the map and the glossary, and that's just something that a physical book still does better than an ebook. All of the formats have their different perks, but being able to refer back and forth between stuff is still easier in a physical book. Anyway, let's see, it's around 4 o'clock now. My partner should be getting home soon, so I think I'm gonna switch over to trying to edit the video that should be going up tomorrow, but I probably won't. I need to edit my February wrap-up, and I always have an hour of footage. And I'm gonna go see how far I can get on editing that, and then my partner will come home, and we'll cook dinner, and I will probably try to see if I remember to vlog more tomorrow or this weekend or something. Anyway, we'll see. Saturday, I just tried to film myself making some tea, and it was a hot mess. Trying to do that stuff one-handed and not, miss pouring the water while I'm trying to, look at the camera and keep things in frame. It is difficult. So mad props to anyone who films himself doing something with one hand that really requires two. The tea will taste fine, but I don't know if that footage is usable. We'll see. Anyway, as far as reading, I'm about, a quarter of the way into The City of Brass. I'm really enjoying it. I'm having a little trouble keeping straight all of the dense political history of all of the groups, but I'm only a quarter of the way into the first of 3 chunky books. I'm trusting that after a while I'm gonna understand all of these relationships, and I'm not stressing about it. I love this world. I love the descriptions are so vivid. I'm enjoying it a lot. I haven't read any more of Reading Sweetgrass since yesterday. I'll probably read a chapter or 2 tonight. I'm gonna go back to reading. It's almost 4 o'clock, so I'm probably gonna read for an hour, and then I'll figure out dinner. Good morning. So it is Sunday. I ended up not reading any more Reading Sweetgrass because I got to page 270. I'm about halfway through The City of Brass. It would be a stretch, but I don't think it's impossible for me to finish this book in one day. I read really fast. And also, even though this is chunky, the text is not very dense. There's a bit of spacing in there, and then it's also just a fast-paced, easy read book. Even though I'm still dealing with the issue I talked about yesterday, where the world is very complicated. The relationships between all of these different factions are really complicated. Which I think is the point, which helps me to be patient and slowly kind of learn. Something that I didn't mention yesterday that I'm loving is in relation to this complicated world. When we were introduced to the king of Daevabad, initially, we see him eke out this very cruel punishment to someone who is dissenting of his reign, but then we see conversations with him and his son, and we see other things that are happening, and you're you kind of feel split because you're getting both sides of the issue of yes, you are choosing one group of people over another, but if you pursued flat out equality, if you pursued any kind of social change, it would mean more. And so what the fuck do you do? This is a huge 3-book series, so I think that's going to be a thing that we're going to be wrestling with the whole time is what is right. And I think the point is there's not going to be any one right solution. But I love that even though we have a sense of this is not the right answer, but also all of their options kind of suck. I'll try to check in later today if I make some good progress, or I'll check in tomorrow. Good morning. Apologies if you hear any construction noises next door. They are almost done with the townhomes. So it's Monday, the 22nd, I think? It's Monday. So I finished City of Brass last night. I finished this in pretty much 2 days. My brain hurts so much in such a good way. I cannot think of a single character in this book who is clearly heroic or villainous. Everyone is morally ambiguous. The characters that I don't like still have redeeming qualities about them. Everyone is at some point a victim. Everyone is at some point an aggressor. It's fascinating. My favorite character is still the king, Gassan. I mean, like, our three main characters are all great, and I love them, and I love that I'm not annoyed by any of them, but oh man, I love that he, from scene to scene, he just continues to toe the line between being self-serving and being a very skilled leader who is just trying to avoid war, but is also prepared to go to war if necessary. And the ending with him and Nari, what? Not much of a spoiler, but because it doesn't tell anything about what happens, but I am very glad that the king is still alive at the end of this book, because I want to see how he handles what happens next. I mean, I want to see what happens with all of them. Other things I'm reading, I'm still working on braiding Sweetgrass. It's still great. I just picked up Silver on the Tree by Susan Cooper. This is the last book in the Darkest Rising series. I started rereading it in January, and then I've flown through the rest of the books this month. I started picking up the audiobook also from my library, just so I could get through this series while I was doing dishes and stuff. I'll get into it more in my March wrap-up. But I'm very curious to see how the series ends, because I really enjoyed the first book, and then my feelings are all over the place on the next couple of books. So I think the series is really interesting, but I don't really know how much I love it, because some books I really love and some books I don't. I think today I'm also going to be doing some bookshelf reorganization, because when I put City of Brass on my shelf, there is not room for another book in that section, because I have them kind of organized by genre. My adult sci-fi fantasy shelf, one of them is one of the ones I can't move because it's a structural shelf in the middle. So I think I need to kind of like take something from the bottom and move it to the top and move everything down so that I can put my sci-fi and fantasy on the larger shelves. It'll make sense. I'll try and film it. Okay, so sorry if you can hear air compressors and whatever going on outside. Sorry, this corner's a little dark. So what we're gonna do, let's bring this down a little bit. So I'm gonna be working on this bookshelf. I've got games. Games. These two are adult fiction. And then I've got, the shelf is all science fiction, fantasy in, what are they called? Mass market paperback size, because it's the smallest shelf. And then the larger one, and this is where the shelf that's full. This is nonfiction and like other stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically move nonfiction to this top shelf of books and then move everything else down so that science fiction and fantasy are on these two larger shelves. So hopefully I will then have room for more books.
Will grinned back, and Jane remembered the way his smile had always transformed his rather solemn face. And I said I was pretty sure you would.
finished, reorganized bookshelf. There's going to be lots of shadows. Can't be helped. So now, nonfiction on the top. We've got a little bit of room for new stuff. We've got adult fiction, and behind this box there's room for when I get new books on there. Then I've got my sci-fi and fantasy, and you can see behind that basket there is room there. I've got a couple of books I'm going to put in my declutter pile. These are books 2 and 3 in Anne Rice's vampire series. I'm just keeping, where is it? That golden book is Interview with the Vampire, is the first one. That one's actually my favorite. So I'm just going to keep that one. I'm going to get rid of these. And then this collection of Lovecraft stories, which was interesting to get a sense of his writing, but I don't think I'm going to... If I attempt to read his stuff again, I'm probably going to reread some other collection besides that one. So anyway, that frees up a little bit of room. Good morning. I realized I never did an outro for the vlog, so here we go. It's now Wednesday. Yesterday was the release date of a book I had pre-ordered, but I needed to wait for the bookshop to call me and tell me it was ready, and they didn't call me until like an hour after the bookshop had closed. So I'm going out there today. I'm picking up Lost in the Neverwoods by Aidan Thomas. So this is the same author who did Cemetery Boys. I put this book on my radar after watching Audrey's review from Perpetual Pages. So I know that it's not queer, and it's a very different tone than Cemetery Boys. Expectations have been adjusted. I'm still excited for it. I'm going to enjoy what it is, and I'm not going to worry about what it's not. And then I'm also going to pick up Kingdom of Copper. But I think I'm going to hold off on picking up the third book until I've actually read the second book, because I've got a couple other books I want to read to get through some physical TBR stuff before I dive into it. So anyway, and then the bookshop I'm going to is mostly new books, but they've got some used books, so I'll take a peruse through there. Let's see, I finished, what's it called? Silver on the Tree, the last book in the Dark is Rising series. Man, my experience with that series went downhill. I think it's a little bit like a product of its time, when even young adult fantasy was still like very like dense high fantasy, lots of really like archaic and ethereal symbols and really like complicated dark themes, and like it's interesting, but for a YA it's fucking boring. I really enjoyed the first one, and I realized that it's because the first one is entirely through the perspective of human non-magical children, so they have this naivete and purity and curiosity about the world and like wonder at the magic of it that just completely gets squashed in the rest of the series. And ooh. I'm debating about whether or not I'm going to keep the series. It's a box set. If it wasn't a box set, I would just keep the first book and get rid of all of them, but it's like this really nice box set. So I don't know, because like conceptually it was interesting, but I think YA has come a long way in being able to explore the kind of themes that series talks about in a way that's not, it just, by the end of it, it reads like books for adults, but just some of the protagonists are children, so therefore it's YA. So anyway, my fingers are cramping. Anyway, so I'm glad to have finished the series. I'm glad to have reread it and been able to take some notes on my thoughts. Because that was a series that I was rereading because it was a series that I had read and I could not remember anything about it. So I'm glad to have reread it. But so I'm gonna go to the bookstore. I'll see if I film something there. I don't know. I feel really weird about the concept of filming in public. I don't think I'm there yet. We'll see. Okay. I'm back from book shopping. I love books and I cannot be stopped. So, picked up the pre-order of Lost in the Neverwoods. Got Kingdom of Copper, and then I was browsing the new inventory of used books, and I found The Order of Time by Carlo Rovelli. I just watched Sage's video this morning of like their favorite book recommendations of like science nonfiction for non-academic science people, and this sounded interesting, and then I saw copy. It was $10. Like this bookstore is kind of more expensive regarding secondhand books because they are a primarily new bookstore. But like I am on a science nonfiction kick, and this was this is a translated nonfiction, which I don't have too many of those, so I thought that would be cool. So what is this about? This is about Rovelli invites us to consider questions about the nature of time that continue to puzzle physicists and philosophers alike. So, anyway, interesting. It was there. It felt meant to be. Great. And then I went to Goodwill because I was looking for some folding chairs, and then I browsed the books, and I found this little antique paperback of The Horse and His Boy from the Chronicles of Narnia. I have like 5 of the 7 of Chronicles of Narnia that are like my dad's antique cloth-bound paperbacks, but I'm missing The Horse and His Boy, which is actually my favorite in the series. And then I think I'm missing one other one of them. They might still be at my parents' house, but my dad has also been getting rid of a lot of books. So, worst case scenario, I end up with 2 copies, and one of them ends up in a free library. Lovely. Also, like, look at this old cover. It's, I don't know. I like it. I like it. And then I found a copy of The Power by Naomi Alderman, and this is one that I've seen going around BookTube a little bit. It's It's a world where teenage girls and women now have immense physical power. With a flick of the fingers, they can cause agonizing pain and even death, and with the small twist of nature, everything changes drastically. So I think it's like a speculative fiction or science fiction of like, what if women suddenly had the power to never be victims anymore? Anyway, I've seen people mentioning it, probably because it was a book of the month, a book of the month pick, but I don't know if I've seen a lot of people actually review it, but the concept sounds interesting. You know, it was like $3 or $4, so I'm like, all right, cool. I mean, that's only like 5 more books this month. I have to like talk myself down from all this anxiety I have about like acquiring new books, because I am doing okay about reading the physical books that come into my life. I think after I film my March wrap up, I'm going to film a checking in about my yearly goals. And like one of those goals is to read at least 50% of all of the physical books that were on my TBR at the beginning of the year, which was like 23 books, and I think I'm like already up to like 8 or 9. So I mean, granted, the rate at which I am bringing in new books has increased, but it's not impacting me financially. And I kind of went like 10 years without like buying new books. So I have a little bit of anxiety because I don't want to just have like an entire bookshelf of books that I've never read, but also as far as hobbies go, I think the amount of like joy I am getting out of it is actually outweighing the stress of it, so I just need to be like, it's fine. You are fine. Like, it's good for you to like check on yourself and monitor what's going on, but also like you're fine. It's okay. Anyway, so that's what I acquired. So now we're gonna go back in time to my outro that I already filmed. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this wasn't too much of a hot mess. I hope you have a good rest of your day. I encourage you to go out into the world and be curious. And I will have my other social media places linked down below. Check it out. Yeah. Catch y'all in my next video. Bye!